You're listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
So, what I've got there, as you can see, what I've done is I've basically gone like that. And I've gone like that and created a triangle shape or an A shape with the top of the A pointing in that direction. Why do you think that is?
Where from the wind?
Because the wind's blowing from behind my back.
Oh, yeah.
So any draft's going to go into here
and ignite the fire.
And ignite the fire. Yeah. Okay. So, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this tinder and I'm going to buff it up even more. Really papery thin stuff. It's literally like just like paper. This.
Oh, yeah.
See?
Yeah, it is. Okay.
So how did you get this to dry then?
This comes off the tree, so like this. Basically, the birch tree sheds this bark to keep cool in the winter.
Yeah.
And it's full of oils, and we exploit the fact that it's full of oils. I mean, this stuff will burn even when wet.
Yeah. Right.
And we exploit the fact that it's relatively paper thin, and it's full of oil. And why that's good is we can use one of these things. I'm sure you've seen these on television. This is called a fire steel. This is a larger model that we use for groups. You'll see that most of my instructors you'll see with a knife and a fire steel around their neck, and the reason for that is that the two most important things out in the wild is a reliable cutting tool and a decent means of making fire. And you can put that into a bucket of water, take it out, and it will still make fire for you. So these work literally by creating a shower of sparks onto your tinder. Tinder has to be dry, and effectively what we're doing is striking sparks down into this tinder bundle. Down at the kitchen there will be some hot soup for you, some rolls and some hot water for teas and coffees, and I'd like to do a safety talk with you about just the general area as well, please. So when you feel that you want to tend your fire for a few minutes and then come down for a cup of tea, by all means do that. And once you've all come down, then I'll start talking to the fire. Okay. Yep. Any questions on what I've showed you so far?
No, that's fine.
If you have any questions at all the whole weekend, no matter how silly you think it might be, ask. Okay, that's what we're here for. We're here to help, guide and coach you, and we're basically bushcraft coaches this week. Okay. All right, because you know a lot of these skills already.
You keep this going all through the night now, the fire?
Yeah. We'll come and share how to moderate that fire with you later.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll show you some techniques on how you can...
Hello and welcome to another podcast from theoutdoorstation.co.uk. And this weekend is a very interesting weekend. I've gone all bush. I'm bushcrafting courtesy of Nomad-Bushcraft down in the Wiltshire area. And I've just joined, right here late due to usual Friday night traffic and so on, and I've just joined a small group of people who are learning the basic bushcraft skills on a foundation course for the very first time. And Andrew, as you probably just heard, was just taking them through the basic art of lighting a fire with a flint and steel. So it's a chilly evening, I'd say the least. I've got all my layers on at the moment, and I'm looking forward to sitting around the fire and getting the tarp out and the bivvy and enjoying some good night's banter and getting to know the people that are here on the course. So what we'll do is we'll keep popping back every now and again and get everybody's story and hopefully make for an enjoyable programme.
The stars that I'm going to show you today are useful in terms of navigation, and I'll pick up more on that tomorrow when we talk about sun compasses, providing we get some sunshine. Okay? So, what I'd like to do today is I'm going to show you 3 constellations. Okay, I'm going to show you the Big Dipper, which you probably know what it looks like, but I'll point it out to you anyway. I'm going to show you another constellation called Cassiopeia, and I'm going to show you a third constellation called Orion. Okay, these are all relatively easy, relatively well-known constellations. And there's a specific use for each of them, and I'll point that out in a minute. After that point, the stars that you can see up in the sky, I mean, we've got a very good clear night tonight, and it's lots and lots, I mean, it's over 1,000 stars that we can see currently. Carrie will show you through her starlight scope the other stars that you can't see, which is actually quite astonishing. So if I just quickly turn around away from you, The first constellation that I want to show you, you may have to move around the clearing just ever so slightly just to get the right the number of stars in the constellation. The first one I want to show you is called the Big Dipper or the Plough. Okay, it's directly in front of you here. It's a collection of 7 stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
There's a handle of the dipper and there's the bucket end. Can everybody see that?
Looks like a door frame that's sort of upside down.
Yeah? Does anybody not see it?
No.
And it's okay to say no. Okay. Can you see the handle here and there's the bucket end? These 2 stars at the end of the bucket, if you join them up and keep going and multiply the distance by approximately 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you'll hit that star there. That's Polaris. And if you're facing that star, you're facing due north. Okay, that's stellar north. I'll talk more about north tomorrow. But for the moment, that's celestial north. Hello, my name's Andrew Packer. I'm from Nomad-Bushcraft. I'm here today with Carrie Packer and Melissa Clout, the other instructors on the course. This is the foundation course that we run. This is basically the fundamentals of bushcraft. We'll be covering shelter building, fire making, water purification, edible foods and traps and snares over this weekend. We're in a beautiful British broadleaf woodland in Wiltshire, and the weather's turned out a lot better than it said originally. It was supposed to be forecast for rain, but we've got blazing sunshine this morning and lots of bird songs, so we'll be looking forward to covering off lots of bushcraft activities over the next 24 hours, and it's quite a labour intensive course, but it's quite an enjoyable one.
What type of people do you find coming to courses these days?
We get quite a mixture, really. You get everything from the sort of casual hiker to the sort of hardcore hunters and sort of bushcraft enthusiasts. Of course, bushcraft these days is a bit more of a hobby of its own, really. And I suppose really the sort of general television programmes, Bear Grylls, Ray Mears, Bruce Parry, these type of people have created a kind of a niche market, or certainly an attraction for the outdoors and the sort of wilderness living skills. And so you tend to find you get sort of everybody from the sort of casual armchair observer who wants to try out some skills and has enjoyed what they like on television and wants to have a go. People that just really want to get more experience and understanding of different things like edible wild foods and that type of thing. And people that are preparing to go on overseas tours and expeditions and walks and that type of thing. We had a group of guys about 2 years ago that went off to Canada for 2 weeks kayaking around some of the lakes over there, and used the skills that we taught them sort of on a daily basis. So that was quite nice. It's that type of sort of the general outdoorsy person, really. I mean, it's not really specific to a particular niche group of market, but it's a growing area, and more and more families as well getting involved in it.
Is it a case of people wanting more confidence sometimes and actually not knowing where to go to start building that confidence to make things simpler?
I think what it is really is, yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that a lot of it is people don't really have the confidence to sort of strike out on their own, and they just really want the sort of safety blanket of having an instructor around that they can call on more as a coach than anything else. To be able to strike out on their own, I think it just builds confidence, and certainly the wilderness living skills that we teach will actually just, sort of generally build your confidence over the course of a weekend or course over 4 days or whatever. And it's really the minutiae stuff that you can't gain from a book that you learn: fire management techniques, edible wild plants, and that type of thing. It's more about the confidence building of knowledge about finding things out for yourself.
Now, you and your instructors have done this obviously in various countries around the world and built your skills up and so on. Is there an ideal country to be doing this in, or does England provide as much of a challenge and as much diversity as, say, Norway or Canada?
I think it depends on where you are obviously in England, but certainly there's
British woodland is one of the most varied of environments, and certainly if you're looking to look at things like wild foods and different types of wood and carving and that type of thing, it obviously creates a very different environment than a sort of a pine mono ecosystem or something like that. We do run courses in various other bits of the world, and we've done lots of work overseas. Norway and Finland in particular are lovely areas to go, certainly if you want a little bit of snow. But the UK is, you know, certainly if you were to look up into the sort of the Highlands of Scotland and the Lake District and these sort of places, you know, more and more people are being drawn to these areas because of the sort of wild beauty of it. And I think a lot of our job as instructors is kind of trying to foster that love of the countryside without the need to sort of destroy it. And I think that's, you know, that's part and parcel of what we enjoy. But certainly there is a growing population of people in the UK that now that sort of do this sort of adventure tour holidays and that type of thing, so it's sort of Africa and Canada and those sort of places. And it does, I mean, the skills that you learn on your own doorstep can travel with you everywhere, and I think that's the beauty of bushcraft, because, you know, literally the stuff that you learn at home can be used in any type of environment.
The group that we have this weekend, it was quite pleasant last night when they sat or stood rather and looked up at the night sky and admitted it was probably a very, very long time since they'd had such simple pleasures.
I think that's nice. I mean, it's always one of the highlights of the course, actually, is the Star Walk. Although you wouldn't think particularly it would be something that would hold a lot of interest, but like you say, I think it's a lot of people just don't necessarily take the time out to look up. And certainly with Carrie's nightscope as well, you can see a lot more of the stars that you can't see because of the sort of light pollution. But I think the main point of that is to try and get everybody to slow down a little bit and try and appreciate nature, which is one of the fundamental kind of core principles of bushcraft. This is the Mora knife. It's manufactured in Sweden. It's made out of carbon steel, and it has a few features that I want to talk through that make it suitable for bushcraft use. The handle is about the same length as the blade. The point of the blade is approximately in line with the centre of the handle. It doesn't curve up this way, it doesn't curve down that way. All of these things are important in terms of geometry and in terms of actually making use of your knife. It is carbon steel, and the reason that it's carbon knife that you're using is sharpened with what's called a flat grind. It's basically a V shape. If I was to take this knife and break it across the middle, and we was to look down on the end of it, it would look like that. Everybody see that? Everybody understand what I'm talking about? Yeah? The bit that we're particularly interested in is the bevel edge. It's this bit here, which is called, in Swedish it's called the slip face. Okay, but it's what we use to sharpen. This is fundamental to good woodworking and fundamental to good bushcraft. Okay, maintaining this particular edge. It allows us to carve wood perfectly well, and it also allows us to take off those beautiful shavings that we need to make feather sticks and that type of thing. So, if I sharpen my knife the way I'm going to show you, what will happen is it will ride on the surface of the blade, and the tip will dig in, and you'll end up with curls like a wood plane. This is a hazel. Okay, famous for the old hazelnuts or filberts or whatever you call them in your neck of the woods. But in my neck of the woods they're called filberts. This is a very good wood to use. It's green, it grows in very sort of like long supple wands, as we call it, or shoots as you might call it. And it's useful for making pot hangers and tent pegs and all of those type of things. It's an easy carvable wood, and has some nice attributes that are useful for bushcraft. So I'm going to show you on a smaller piece of wood, and I'm going to upscale it to show you what capability can be done with a little bit of practice. So what I want you to do, the safe way to use a bow saw is to put your hand through the bow and hold it on the opposite side. So now, even if this saw skips, it can't hurt me. Okay?
No, I've been using a saw for years and never thought it was happening.
Right?
How many times have you scuffed the back of your hand then?
I haven't, fortunately, you know, but I think I've been lucky.
Right.
The other thing to remember when you're using a bow saw is you need to hear the words, you need to think in terms of the sound that it makes, okay? A lot of people will use a bow saw. If I've got my back turned to them, they'll hear this. Saw, 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 saw. And they're using a carpenter's saw that cuts in one direction. A bow saw is economy of motion, and it should be saw, 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 saw. So it's this. Using the whole length of the blade, and you're just going nice and slow. You won't tire yourself out so quick. Okay, so in terms of tool safety then, the tool that we most use in bushcraft is the knife. It's the smallest tool, it's the tool that carries with us most times, and it allows us to harvest and fashion lots of tools and things out here in the woods that we don't necessarily need to bring with us. So we can fashion tripods, or we can make pot holders, we can make tent pegs, and all of these things that we might need. Of course, with that, it's a trade-off because it's a safety issue. And one of the things that we take pride in on our foundation courses is to reinforce the requirements for tool safety. The knife being that most people have used a knife since the age of about 2 or 3, and they've used it to cut food or chop up lettuce and stuff like that in the kitchens. The way that we use a knife in bushcraft is very different, and basically, in order to use a knife safely, as an impact tool, as a mini axe, as a carving tool, there are certain guidelines that we look for and that we actually reinforce, and we spend a good deal of the first day when we issue the students their knives actually going over these safety talks. So in terms of things like how to handle a knife, how to hold the knife, the knives are worn around the neck so that they're constantly visible and the students reminded that they're of where it is at any given time. We use bright handled knives as well, so if the student inadvertently drops them in the woods, we can find them again. But we go through the front grip on how to hold the knife safely, so that you have safe follow through with that when any cutting that you're doing. We teach the concept of elastic cutting, so that the student is aware that a sudden slip of a tool may cause an injury. So we ask them to reinforce in their mind. We ask them to think about, what if I slip? What would happen? And by doing that, it actually forces the student who may think that they know how to handle a knife, and they get a realization that actually, you know what, sometimes I could slip there, and actually, yeah, no, that is a better way to do that, and I can see how that's safer if you split this way, and rather than the way I was splitting, it's much safer. And it caused some awkwardness at the start because people think we're picking up on habits, but as you move through and show them the skills, and they start to see the benefit of those skills, like they start to be able to increase their tool usage. They can make more elaborate bushcraft tools quicker and easier by using the techniques that we're showing them. It starts to cotton on and actually start to get more confident in using the blade, and eventually more safe.
The students we've got here today are obviously of the mature variety. They're not obviously young kids, and it's quite surprising that even at a mature age, there is still something to learn, and a very much a big awareness that came across the group of 4 of us as you went through some of those holding techniques.
Yeah, I think it's about being shown a way. I mean, we're very conscious that to show people a way of doing something rather than the way to do something. And there's always different ways of finding techniques. But a lot of it is about, oh yes, it's the oh yes factor. It's oh crikey, yeah, I understand. That's a bit easier. Or I've never actually ever used a knife like that. I doubt whether the normal layperson has ever used a knife to split wood. They would think of an axe, or they might cut wood with a saw. And by showing them different techniques on how to harvest wood, and how to cut down saplings with a knife, and how to split those saplings into battens that we can then shave down for dry tinder wood and that type of stuff. It actually just broadens their mind slightly in terms of the knife isn't just for cutting onto a chopping board and cutting carrots with. It's actually a tool, much like a wood plane or a splitting device or a mini axe that they can actually use to fashion things.
My box of fire. I will show you things that obviously you have come across normally. Hopefully I might show you something that you've not seen before, or you might have seen it all, so just go with the flow. Everything in this box is able to make fire or sustain a fire in some way. Maybe not today, because some of them are based on good weather. We're just about got good weather, haven't we? Yeah. So let's start with what everybody knows. Matches, candles, different ways of giving you a strike ignition, which creates a flame.
Excellent.
It's not burn with some intensity, isn't it?
Oh, makes your eyes go a bit
Oh,
black.
yeah, I was saying, I've got really bright eyes.
Alright, so these are really good. These
They
are
used
really
to use them like in flash bulbs, didn't
That's
they?
right, it's the same
the old
stuff
days,
that they used to use
yeah?
in flash bulbs, yeah, exactly the same
Exactly.
stuff.
The
So
electric charge being it.
for how much do you think how much you can actually scrape off of here?
Leave it there, and a lot of people walk away before it actually has gone off. There you go.
Oh, amazing. Jesus.
Alright? I'd say. But there you go, so that's kind of like the
It was a one shot, I'm afraid.
Who discovers this sort of thing?
well, it's an oxidizer.
In
I mean,
the back
this
garden.
isn't something you get out of textbooks, is it? Is it something you just sit and play with all these different medicines and decide that aspirin and something
No,
else
I'm-
work?
Chemistry set.
No, I'm a chemist, so it's a bit of a cheat on that one.
Okay, so a little bit goes on the end. Make sure that there's no overhang. Pop it into the top of the piston, and then this is the bit that you are hoping that you can get it to go. And it is a bit of luck, it is a bit of a hope. It's about this not having got damp. There you
Oh
go.
my word.
So, you put your coal into your bundle, which in this case,
That's amazing.
so normally you'd have your big grapefruit sized piece of tinder, your extender, so your birch bark, your
You could actually do that
grasses.
in an old tin, couldn't you?
You
Like
could just
with a hole in
have
the top.
this completely in your hands. So you could have all of this in your hands
Yeah.
and blow it up from here. But I'm just, for ease, if somebody wants to take that and blow it, it will go to flame. Not too much spit.
By the side of your foot. Okay, and the reason for that is push down harder with your left hand. Get it going and then start to push down. Once you get it running,
The last piece of fire lighting equipment out of Carrie's firebox was fire by friction, or the bow drill, which you may have seen on Ray Mears TV programmes. Of course, we all had a go, and Danielle, her partner Jock, and father Ron and I just managed to get smoke. But let me tell you, it is exhausting. All of us were shattered before we got the coal to catch. It's nowhere near as easy and as quick as the experts like Ray Mears and Andrew make it appear.
Oh, go on.
Hi, I'm Carrie Packer. I guess you could call me Mrs. Bushcraft or Mrs. Nomad. I've just laid a fire. I've let the main wood burn down, and I've got a nice embers, and I'm going to make a cake because one of our gentlemen is his birthday today.
That's a really good idea. Is it fairly easy to make a cake in these circumstances?
No, not really. It's a little bit of you can't just turn it to 180 degrees. You've got to kind of play with the fire and keep a really close eye on it. So where some of the other group have disappeared now, I've taken the opportunity to let them go and do the plant walk, and I'm going to sit and watch a cake bake, basically.
You've just done the fire demonstration of all the different ways to start fire, and you look like you really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I do. We each take a turn in different things, and I chose the firebox. I guess I'm a secret pyromaniac. Yes. I like the fact that there's more traditional methods and there's more current new things going on, and I like the fire element of it. It's one of the main aspects of bushcraft, is being able to light a fire given any circumstance, and obviously with all the different methods you can practice everything and hopefully get it right each time.
I think the most memorable one certainly there is at the end of the demonstration we all had a go at the fire drill or the bow drill to create a fire, and none of us could quite do it. We got to the smoke stage, but we couldn't get the glowing ember. There's obviously a bit of a knack to that.
Yes. I have to admit, I haven't quite got that knack on my own yet. I actually have to have Andrew help me. I'm not very good at coordinating and balancing and doing the bow drill and the hand. Oh, it just all gets a bit much. So Andrew normally does one bit and I do the other bit, and then maybe we swap in between somewhere. So I just can't do it all on my own. It takes too much puff.
But it was a great demonstration. Do you find the different sort of people you have through these courses really get a kick out of something as simple as lighting a fire with basic ingredients, basic tools?
Absolutely. I think because today most households don't have a fire in them anymore, so it's a forgotten skill. So by coming out into the woods and doing something like this, some people, they've never picked a saw up before, or they maybe have forgotten how to use a knife other than using it for eating their meat and potatoes and lighting a fire. Not many people know how to light a fire nowadays, so it's some basic skills of life, but also maybe one day might save your life. You never know.
Indeed. Well, thank you very much indeed for that. And I'll leave you to your cooking, which is going to be very creative. I can see you've got all the basic ingredients here, and you've got everybody out of the way. I mean, there's smoke coming off into our eyes under the tarp here. So I look forward to coming back and have a cake and a cup of tea a bit later on.
You're very welcome. We'll see you in a bit.
I left Carrie to magically conjure up a cake out of nothing over an open fire, and joined the other students, Danielle, Jock and Ron, who were learning how to prepare a trout over an open fire for lunch. The wet weather didn't dampen our spirits or our laughter, as I slowly realised they were all here thanks to Danielle, and today was in fact Ron's actual birthday.
It's a King Alfred cake. It's just the biggest one they could find, yeah.
Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Ron, happy birthday to you. Yay!
Fantastic.
Make a wish, make a wish.
Make a wish.
I hope you clean the fish guts off that night.
Have you blown the candle out and made the wish? That's the important thing. Oh, that's lovely though.
We had to improvise somewhat.
How have you made that then?
Well, it was my partner's birthday and it was Christmas coming up, and I knew he had an interest in the Ray Mears programmes that are always on TV, and I did a little bit of research online and found out that Ray Mears has got a website that does these outdoor adventures from people who've never done it before to advanced. Only he was fully booked up for the next 2 years, so I did a bit more research, and there's hundreds of different companies that do it. So I found the Nomad-Bushcraft website, had a look through all the different courses, and decided to book all three of us on the introductory course.
So it was a complete surprise for you, for the menfolk.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was quite hard keeping it a secret because obviously we had a list of things that we had to get, our sleeping bags and our camping equipment, which my dad already had, but myself and my boyfriend didn't have. So yeah, I kept it a secret until Christmas, and surprised them.
I mean, this isn't your sort of natural environment, is it? Let's put it that way.
No, I'm a city girl. I'm normally either down the pub or eating in sushi restaurants, and never thought I'd rough it. Maybe with a tent and all the luxurious things, but yeah, not under bashers.
Under these conditions, in pouring rain.
In pouring rain, yeah.
But you've enjoyed it though, haven't you?
Absolutely loved it, yeah, it's been fantastic. Just learning all the skills, you see it on TV and you think, oh God, I'd never be able to do that. I've never used a knife safely before, out in the outdoors, or I've never even gutted a fish, and yet we've learned all that on here. I can now I can gut a fish and cook it on a spit, or hunt food like we're just about to find out how to do it. It's fantastic. Feel really confident now.
Do you feel it empowers you a bit?
Yeah, definitely, and it's nice because it's something that I don't think a lot of people, I'm 25, that a lot of people would do, especially if they live in the city, if other people can get to try this, and yeah, it improves your confidence in life. And I know if we got stuck on a desert island or in the woods, we'd be fine.
There's lots of things you can do with stinging nettles. You can make a lovely soup. You can make a cup of tea, although it's not my favourite, I have to say. and they're very good for cordage.
I know, I've tried nettles.
It's a diuretic, isn't it?
Yeah, I've tried
It is.
Right. So you can make a really good soup.
And I have to say, I think it tastes not very pleasant, actually, if you make it too strong. But it's very, very good for cordage. If you get the stinging nettle and pop its trunk all the way up and run your fingernail down one side and open it out, you can boil it up in a lye solution for a few hours, hang it to dry over a tree, and it will make a really, really tough.
These are pig nuts, and basically what they are is they're a small little underground tuber that's like about the size of a hazelnut, or sometimes they do grow to the size of a walnut. And they're called pig nuts really because I guess they used to be dug up by pigs, but they're like they're quite a little delicacy actually. They're a nice sort of.
Is it something you put in a stew, or is it sort of?
No, you can just eat it as it is. You could put it in a stew, but it's basically like the texture and.
Nutty.
Yeah, like a nut. So it is that sort of quite a descriptive. There's one. Oh, hang on to that one for a second, so you can see the whole plant attached on that one. Right. And then they do this nasty thing though. The tuber or the stem comes down under the ground and then makes a 90-degree bend to the right or the left. So you have to follow the tuber down, and it gets very, very.
Shiitake mushroom.
Like a barber would have used a leather strop to sharpen his razor, you can use it to sharpen your knife. You cut through it. Cut a section off. Let's take a section off. It will sharpen a knife quite effectively. And you can also cut a very thin slice and use it as a plaster.
But you can't eat this.
Surely you could sharpen like a knife.
Yeah, in the same way you would think that a piece of leather wouldn't sharpen.
I can let you know when they do the cutthroats with the leather strop.
Hello, I'm Melissa. I'm one of the assistant instructors for Nomad-Bushcraft. I'm particularly interested in the plants and the nature side of things, so with an emphasis on looking at useful plants. So plants that can be eaten, used to make teas, and used for other purposes such as weapons and cordage.
We had an interesting day with you yesterday, and it was quite interesting with the other students as well. You could see they just hadn't experienced wild food in that sort of format. So what sort of reaction do you get from people when they find it, they explore for it, they learn with you, they dig it up and then they eat it for the first time?
I think it's amazing. People are really surprised and start looking at the floor and looking around them and seeing things that they've never seen before, that have been around them all the time. And people have moved so far away from eating things that don't come in a plastic bag from the supermarket that sometimes they can get quite excited about foraging for their own. They get down on their hands and knees and can't stop digging.
Well, I noticed that yesterday. We were all walking off, and you guys were nice and slow and bringing us all back. And after a period of time, nobody was walking more than a foot or so without, as you say, staring down at their feet, looking for pig nuts and so on.
Yeah, it's great. I'm not sure how that will transpire to going back to their normal lives in the city, but certainly hope that every time they go to the countryside, they'll be looking around them at what actual plants are there and recognising some.
We also did. We cooked fish yesterday. Thank you very much indeed for showing us how to do that. That must be quite a novelty for people as well.
Yes, we get a lot of people who've never touched a fish and really don't want to, and find it quite horrifying. And then usually part way into the session, they're holding up fish guts and playing and putting a fish eye on the end of their finger and often say that they will go home and use that technique either in the kitchen or when they're camping.
Or barbecue, I presume, yeah.
On the barbecue, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's one which I really enjoy, seeing people go from being really, really revolted and looking quite scared when the bag of fish arrive.
As you say, they've been separated from real food for a long time. Actually getting back to dealing with it on a very personal basis is quite different. But what about their reaction to actually eating food that isn't enhanced in any way with flavourings and sauces and so on? Because when we've eaten very, very simple, very plain food, but it's been extremely enjoyable. Do you find that's a common thing?
Yes, I think when we give the stew pot and the bag of vegetables with the burdock and the other bits and pieces that we've collected to the students and say, this is your dinner, they do look quite concerned and often ask about well, you know, seasonings and herbs and spices and things, but usually are very surprised at how tasty it does come out.
Because presumably, you, when the season's right, you're giving them the right sort of amount of herbs that they've been collecting during the day.
Yeah, it's always made better if at the right time of year if you can find some things to put in to make it taste nicer. There's also the side that everything that you taste when you've been outdoors and you've dug it up yourself does taste slightly better.
And you've also got a greater appetite, haven't you?
Especially when it's been raining all day.
Yes. Well, we've been really fortunate with the weather last 24 hours, but actually it's cheered up nicely now. So what have you got planned for us today?
Today we're going to do traps and snares, to look at the non-vegetarian side of what we can eat while we're here, and some nature awareness, so looking for the signs of what wildlife has been through, that is the other side of trapping and snaring. So you can look at who's been through, what's been happening, where to put your traps and snares.
I've had a cracking birthday. I've had an excellent birthday. It's the best birthday I've had in a lot of years. And thank you to Danielle and Jock for that.
Yeah.
And to yourself and everybody else.
You certainly had a big smile on your face when that cake appeared.
I've got a bigger belly though.
And what about yourself then? What do you think, Jock?
I've just loved the challenge this weekend. It's, you know, it's a Christmas present from Danielle, something I've always wanted to do but never done, and it's just so great to come out and challenge yourself and learn new skills, meet new people, all different walks of life, and just learn things from people that you've seen done but never known how to do them. And now I can take that and probably go further and definitely continue this sort of thing, so I've really enjoyed it. And the weather's been atrocious, but I can imagine doing this and the sun's great and the wind's great and the rain. It's just same basic no matter what the weather is. And I just think it's just been fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Well, the weather's certainly beautiful now. If it had been like this all the time, it would be, well, it was great fun, but it just been a bit more pleasant in the evenings and stuff. So what have we covered? What sort of range of skills have we done, just so people can listen to this and in case I missed anything off?
Well, navigation, nighttime navigation by the stars. We've covered sun navigation, finding out directions using the sun, using your watch, using the stick driven into the ground, how to work out north and east and west,
how to make fire using different techniques.
Of fire. That's been great.
In emergency situations, so like if you get stuck in your car, using batteries or using the napping and your knife. Cutting techniques.
Yeah, the knife.
Learning how to use a knife properly. So I think that's been very important because it's
heavy on safety.
You know, it's something that's so essential when you're out here, and it's also something that can really do you a lot of damage. It's you know, you've got to learn how to use it properly, and I think that's taught really well here. Actually, I mean, I use knives in my job, but you know, to come out and use knives in the woods, totally different. You know, I can carve wood up and things at work, but it's different when you're out, you know, when you're trying to do it to live and survive and to cook and stuff like that. And I just think it's great. And the tracking, I thought that was really important today because, you know, you can walk through a wood and not see any of that. And today, just tiny little, you know, things that are pointed out to you, which are blatantly obvious to them, but so million miles away from what you know about tracking animals. And I just think that's really good. It's a shame we didn't see more.
Do you think as a pastime it's sort of re-emphasise just how important slowing down is and stop rushing through life and all that sort of thing?
That's one of the great things I find, because most of my weekends seem to be very routine, and the fact that there wasn't a routine this weekend, I was able to slow down, not have to rush anywhere, not have to be at a particular place at a particular time, and I found that the time has absolutely slowed down to a snail's pace for me, and it's been more like a week rather than 3 days. So
not just because what we've learnt, but
but for the company and everything else, and the total relaxation.
No money passed through anyone's hands. It's all just been living off their own.
I think people should come in or look at the internet and find out about a place like this and just say to themselves, when was the last time you built a fire? And if it was moons ago, come on something like this just to refresh what it's like to get out in the open, make your own fire, cook your own food, and it's just great. You know, everyone thinks they can make a fire, but it's just the different techniques that we've learned this weekend.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what would you say to people like yourself that perhaps wouldn't necessarily think of this as being an entertaining weekend to convince them?
Just get a good group of friends together, or you know, go with your girlfriend, go with family. Just go and just experience this sort of thing. I just think it's fantastic. I mean, we've had abysmal conditions this weekend, and none of our spirits have been dampened by the weather, and we've had a good laugh. We've learnt a lot about each other, and We've exchanged numbers and email addresses, so I just think you've got to come out and try these sort of things.
And it's not a boys'
You're missing
thing.
out. It's not a boys' thing. It's so not. I mean, there's 3 instructors, 2 of them are female, so and they're off now to somewhere else to go animal hunting, watching everywhere and tracking. So, you know, it's important that you get out and carry on doing it. I just think I'm definitely doing this again. You know, take the next level
good
now.
Fun.
It's great fun.
It's also great to know that you can actually survive from the land, and there's certain things just under your fingertips. With a little bit of digging, you can actually survive. You can eat certain plants, you can eat certain nuts that are found underneath, but just underneath the soil at fingertip depth. And the fact that you can learn the properties of different woods, you can make implements, you can make shelter. It's just great, you know, a totally different experience than what I think we're all used to. You know,
you take a lot of it all for granted, don't you? I thought pig nuts is what you use in sausages until yesterday. You know, it's just, things like that. It's just like, well, who knows to dig down there to find this thing that you can eat? You know, and how do you know what you can and can't eat? But it's just all about practice and experience. I loved it.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much indeed for your time and sharing your time with me. And I look forward to, if I don't see you before, I'll see you definitely at the Wilderness Gathering.
Yeah. Okay then, Bob. Thank you.
Bob the Gadget. Bob the Gadget.
Thank you.
Thank
you. All the best. Well, Andrew, I'd like to thank you for a very pleasant weekend. It's been great company with the other students, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And as Dave already said, it really does bring home to you just how much time we've lost doing things that aren't that important, whereas the pleasure of learning and learning and relearning old skills has been great.
Absolutely. I mean, none of the gear that and none of the bits and bobs that you've actually worked with over the last couple of days is really anything to out of the ordinary. You've not really spent much time on gadgets and that type of stuff. It's just really what you already know, and knowledge is the best sort of resource that you can bring out here. You don't want to weigh yourself down with loads of bits and bobs and you don't actually need, and I think a lot of people really just reflect on the amount of time that it takes to do something, you know, time that it takes to light a fire. And I mean, making a cup of tea, that's an hour and a half's job. You know, you've got to find the wood, you've got to make the fire, you've got to find the water, boil the water, find the ingredients for your tea, and then sit down and enjoy it. And that isn't a 3-minute flick the kettle on, you know, and that's, I guess, really where some of the more lightweight gear really lends itself to bushcraft in a very positive way. Some of the new stick stoves and the tarps that the lightweight backpackers have give a kind of an edge that allows us to spend minimal impact, maximum time in the woods, enjoying the woods for what they are, rather than sort of laboriously keeping the kettle running all the time, you know. Well,
we've certainly had a few conversations over the campfire, all of us there, and I think everybody agrees that no matter what discipline that you're sort of or area of interest that appeals to you, like fishing or kayaking or hiking or bushcraft or whatever, the tendency is to gather perhaps too much stuff around you, which all of a sudden takes the fun out of it. So, I mean, on your website you promote the fact that the best possible tool you can take with you is knowledge.
That's right.
And you know, you're, I think, extolling the virtues of keeping a lightweight mentality when you're going out bushcrafting, because as we've seen, the more kit you take with you, the more damage you actually create to the environment.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, the more axes and saws that you bring, and equipment that you trample backwards and forwards and load yourself down with. I mean, you know, there are sort of bushcrafters out there that come to a site in a Land Rover and have all this heavyweight equipment that they sort of unpack and stay in the woods for a weekend and then go home again. They've thoroughly enjoyed themselves, but personally we like to try and go down the minimal impact approach. Lightweight equipment, small fires, small stoves, this type of thing. So you get the same feel and the same communion with nature, but you actually are minimising your impact both from a moral point of view and an environmental point of view. You know, you're just trying to create enjoying the environment by passing through it, rather than creating an impact on it for other people.
For people listening to this, obviously this will raise their awareness and attention to the range of courses that you offer, and I know you offer a whole range of courses. How many opportunities can they have during the year to join you? Obviously you've got the website and so on. Yeah, sure. I mean, all details for our courses are on our website, but I mean, effectively we run foundation courses most through the year, usually every other month we've got one on. We also run special interest bushcraft activities that we call our extender skills course, which is things like axe work and flint knapping and primitive skills
skills, bow drill and fire making and that type of thing. And we also run our Bushman course towards the summer and in the back end or the early part of autumn, which is a 4-day course based on a knife, a cooking pot and a blanket. So it's real sort of back to basic stuff, again based on the lightweight working. And of course we do the odd overseas expedition as well, which is taking those skills that you've learnt here to a different environment and enjoying that as well. So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities, and please have a look at the website, that would be great.
Well, I hope this podcast has given you a flavour of the type of things you can expect on a Nomad-Bushcraft foundation course. Obviously, I've only managed to present you with snippets of recordings and information, but we covered a wealth of topics and enhanced our knowledge no end. In the process, we didn't really notice the rain. My thanks to Danielle, Jock and Ron for their excellent company, and to Andrew, Carrie and Melissa for sharing their knowledge and passion on the subject of bushcraft. For more information about the wealth of courses available, have a look at the Nomad website, which is nomad-bushcraft.com. Or if you're a YouTube watcher, search for Nomad BC and watch a few video clips.
This independent programme has been brought to you by theoutdoorstation.co.uk.